welcome everyone. It's Susanne here from the Project Manager Clinic, and today we've got a Project Manager Spotlight. So that's a spotlight on a project manager that I think does fantastic work. And today we've got the wonderful Margaret Dos Santos, which a lot of you will already know from our Ask a Mentor sessions. But if you know that, you will also know that Margaret does not work for the Project Manager Clinic. She works in other areas, and we'd like to put that spotlight on her. How are you, Margaret?
I'm so well, and I'm so excited to talk about a project that we're going to spotlight on, and one that I worked through in my career, and it was so rewarding for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, that's excellent. Now, if you've just tuned in, please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, because there's plenty more of this good stuff to come. This will be quite a short, sharp session, so stay tuned, hold on to your seats. Margaret, what is the
Yes.
project that you're going to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about a project that I was running a few years back at the Doctors Health Fund, and it was to be launching a new product. So I had to ensure that all of the work surrounding the launch of the new product was going to be completed by the launch date.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what the project was about. So it was a new health fund product. It was closed to a client that was potentially going to be signed up by Doctors Health Fund, and it would only be sold to the employees of that company or that client of Doctors Health Fund. So
Mm-hmm.
Doctors Health Fund is a closed fund for doctors, nurses, and the medical staff in that sort of profession. So
Can you tell us a bit about the technology that was used or the business part of it?
yeah, so the technology that Doctors Health Fund was they had an actual system already in place, and they had, various different funds that they offered to their customers.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a new product, so it was going to be a change that was going to be involved in their existing software. But because it was going to be launched to a new client, a website had to be created, a client portal for the
Right.
members had to be created, and also a mobile app had to be created for this new product. So there's quite a few things that had to
Yeah.
be, there was quite a few things that was involved in terms of technology, not just a change within the existing system. And the system was, the sales part, the workflow, and then your basically database. That's the existing system. The new part was the website, the mobile app, and also any changes to the banking platform that was required to ensure that
Mm-hmm.
all of the fees and funds that were provided to Doctors Health Fund would be included in basically the bank account of Doctors Health
Yeah.
Fund. So there was
Yeah.
quite a, and the reason why I'm spotlighting this project is because it was a new product. Not all of it was new in terms of technology.
Right.
However, there was quite a lot of new things that had to be created, the branding associated with the new client and the product, but also the existing software that Doctors Health Fund had, there was changes in that. We had to make sure also that the new website, the new mobile app had penetration testing done on it so that it
Mm.
couldn't easily be hacked. And so there was quite a number of things involved. And the reason why I wanted to spotlight this one was because it had a huge budget. It was a $1.8 million budget. And it also had a lot of contractual arrangements that had to be done, either existing contracts with existing suppliers, but also new contracts for new suppliers to create the new portal and the new website and mobile app. So
Mm.
it was actually, although when you say, new product, it sounds like it's an easy thing to do and just slot it
Mm,
into whatever you've got. It
mm.
actually does, it had involved quite a lot of changes to the, existing framework and incorporating new software into the architecture of the landscape of the company.
So if somebody's listening to this and they don't really know a lot about um, technology, what I've heard are some keywords.
Mm,
You talked about bank. You talked
mm,
about doctors,
mm,
health funds. So there's financial components. Just those alone are all things where things cannot go wrong.
mm,
It's not just like you're creating some nice app that you can. Some of these things are, they've got to be fail safe. These are
mm,
people's records and there's money involved and things like that.
mm,
You also talked about there's a large amount of integration
mm.
across the organisation, across apps and things like that. What were to be the key outcomes of this project? So when you started in this, what did they think was going to happen?
So I think initially they probably didn't realize the whole gamut of change that was going to be incorporated in all of this.
Mm,
But also what happened was they had employed or basically asked the existing marketing SME, subject matter expert, to step in and project manage the project.
mm-hmm.
And she was doing a fantastic job, but she had her own day job to do as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think that this whole workload was too overwhelming for her.
yeah.
And so and that's one good thing that I've been good at in my whole career, which is stepping in, taking lead, and basically trying to complete whatever's left over, or
Mm-hmm.
trying to pick up the pieces and fill in the gaps and complete it. So that's what I had to do
Yeah,
very quickly. I had to pick up the existing pieces of the what this SME had completed, understand where we were at, complete any gaps, and then basically hit the ground running and basically try and complete all the contracts, complete all the work that was required to ensure that we had a fail-safe and delivered sort of product.
which in itself also sounds like it could be simple, but you've got to, and I'm going to ask you about the skills and attributes that you have employed, but if you're picking up something like that, the thing that you have to do is to be able to absorb a whole heap of knowledge very rapidly. So
Mm.
there are other skills involved in that. So Margaret, what do you think were the skills and attributes that you've got that were really highlighted by this project?
I think understanding, basically, because I've got a good history of project management and I understand how to run projects, then understanding how to pick something up and also, looking to see what was done. So
Yeah.
understanding the history of what was done, picking up the business case, setting up things that were not set up, such as a budget from the business case, and basically, uh, you know, monitoring against the budget, so actuals against budget. And so doing things like that. And so that's what I mean by closing the gaps and making sure
Yes.
that these things were set up that hadn't been set up, or that, things were done that, hadn't been done, and things like that. Collating the risk register was kind of in the organisational risk register. It wasn't a separate one for the project.
Mm,
Separating that out and making sure that the decision register was together. So you had the RAID, which is the risks, assumptions,
yes.
issues, and
Yeah.
decisions together, collated. So making sure it was all collated, and then understanding what the total workload was, so that you knew when it was potentially able to be delivered.
So you really recognise what those gaps were, and it's
Mm,
almost to me sounds like you had to do a bit of an audit in your head of what was missing, which is what you said, the gaps.
mm,
And you've named a lot of project management tools there and techniques. But how did you actually do that in terms of the people? So you mentioned the SME that was there before. You could have potentially shown that person up by doing this. You would have had to get a lot of information very quickly. So, how did you do that?
It's basically, as you said, like an audit. I understand what needs to be done in terms of theory
Yeah,
and set up. So I went back through and understood exactly what each person, because it was cross-functional. You
yeah,
had
oh yeah,
technology, you had marketing, you had the sales people, you had the product people. So each of those people had to have input into the whole gamut, and you had to understand, okay, if we're putting in a new product, in terms of technology, what's required, in terms of, you know, marketing, what's required.
yeah,
And so putting all that work together, understanding the dependencies and, in which order, prioritizing and how it all kind of was laid out was pivotal. And also ensuring that, I guess, the chief operating officer, who was actually doing the deal with the client, ensuring that that was going to be watertight and it was going to be completed, so that when that deal was watertight and signed off, we'd have basically a product that was ready to go.
yeah. But
Yeah,
you had to make these connections, didn't you? And
that's right.
you had gone into an organisation that wasn't your organisation. Um, So, understanding who the stakeholders were and the players in
Mm.
all of that, you would have had to do that very, very quickly. So, I'm guessing that you didn't just sit at a desk. What did you do? How did you get that actual engagement?
Yeah, so you know what? It took me probably, I would say, about a month to understand the exact position. And
Yeah,
to do that, I basically had one-on-ones with each of those stakeholders
right.
and understood exactly what a new product meant, what was required, the whole
Yep,
landscape.
yep,
And then I built out the schedule, I built out the plan. I basically understood that there was quite a number of vendors involved, based on the architecture and also the new technology that we were bringing in.
yeah,
I had two business analysts, and one was a junior one was a senior one, and I was able to get them to help me with some of the workload that was required.
right,
So yeah,
right.
as you said, I had to go through and do pretty much an audit on,
Yeah.
and starting from the business case. So the business case was approved. It had already been approved before I joined, but that was basically the baseline of
Mm.
starting.
So,
Mm.
if somebody else was looking in at all of this, what do you think they could learn from your experience in this example?
Yeah, so in this example, I would say that they not necessarily have to carry forward and basically continue on doing things the way they've always been done. It's all right to challenge the status quo. It's all right to provide your input, do a review, because your opinion on how something would be better run or better done is valued, because that's the whole point of why an experienced program manager, project manager is actually brought in.
Yeah.
So this was actually a complex, and that's another reason why I've wanted to showcase this. The amount of vendors involved,
Yes.
contracts, technology changes, additional changes, marketing, branding, and things like that involved, and also there was a customer included in this, was quite phenomenal.
Mm.
Probably one of the most complex projects I have done.
Well, you talked about procurement in
Yes.
there. You've talked about customers, technology, and
Mm.
on all of those other things that we talked about before. Um, so, what would you like? What would you like your next challenge to be?
I would have to say something complex like that, where a lot of, say, vendors are involved, because I actually manage vendors quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be a program. I have actually run a program where multiple vendors were involved. There was an existing vendor, but I also had to procure another vendor to do some of the custom custom work that was required to do for the system changes.
Yep.
And so something like that would be great. And also, even some change in management, because it's always hard to deal with the changes that are happening on the ground
Yeah.
in people's heads and what people are thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting, thing to include as part of the whole program and project management. I also like governance, so I think a PMO sort of role would be
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. And in basically in all, I think all the years of my career, I would have to say, in every single job, I've had to basically optimize the governance, PMO,
Mm-hmm.
or actually optimize it to maturity, because again, not understanding and knowing, because I was actually mentored by someone who was very good in the PMO space,
Yeah.
and basically understanding what it should be, or the optimum that it could be,
Yeah.
and then having to basically retrospectively add things to make it more optimal. And this is not just for my existing projects and programs, but for everybody to use as tools and techniques
Mm.
for the rest of the organization.
Yeah. So your challenge, you like to be able to put things in place that are going to help other people and are going to last,
That's
and
right.
progress things forward for the organisation even after you've left. So
Mm.
why are you so passionate about project management?
I would have to say every day is different, and I like that challenge.
Mm,
I like to understand that because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with, you're having to mitigate risks, address issues, blockers, anything that's kind of comes in your way. Deal with vendors who may not like the deal, or they may not
yeah,
be too happy with some of the things that,
yeah,
you've, put forward. I've had to deal with vendors that pretty much want everything up front. When I'm to say everything, I'm talking about, paying them up front for everything. Uh, and and so that actually doing that actually makes it the job difficult for the project manager and the program manager to actually ensure that it's quality that is provided to
yeah,
the program and project. And so
exactly.
having to say no, that's not good, and actually pushing back is to me something that is a win-win for especially for the customer,
Mm.
to ensure that you get the right thing for the organisation.
Fabulous. Now that's the timer that's gone off, so that means our spotlight on Margaret is at a close. We've I think we've covered pretty much everything, Margaret. So thank you so very much for all of that. Incredibly informative. And if you're out there listening, you'll be able to contact Margaret by looking in the link below on the videos. So don't forget to subscribe. There'll be lots more of these coming over the next couple of months. And have a great project day. Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks.